everyone, I am here to do, I guess you could say, a little bit of a rant and explanation and just overall talk about the recent and just finished Iron Dominion saga. Now, a lot of fans, basically if you're a fan that just got into the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book by Archie Comics within the past few years, if not the past year, then you might be asking yourself, why are other fans, other readers of the comic, complaining about the Iron Dominion story? Why are they complaining of when it's going to end? Why are they complaining that there's such loose plots and everything? Well, and also, why are they complaining about, Khan and Sally? What's the big deal? Well, I'm going to basically rant a little bit and talk about it a little bit, and kind of give an explanation to the best of my abilities. You see, the Iron Dominion story is by far the longest story arc this comic has ever had. By far. The second longest story arc that they've had, by far, to many, well, there's a lot of long story arcs they've had. You've had the invasion of you had the Suppression Squad story arc. You had the Urachek one. Things like that. Like I said, the invasion from the Suppression Squad. That was pretty long. That went from like 188 to 196. That was 8 months worth. But the reason this was a long one, and the reason some fans, longtime reader fans like myself, but I never complained, but the reason some longtime fans complained about this is because to them nothing was getting accomplished. A few good examples of this that I will point out go like this. When the Iron Queen, along with Snively, first invaded New Mobotropolis, she took one of the good guy characters, one of the freedom fighters, if you will, that she took control of was Bunny Rabbit. Now, she took control of her to the point that Bunny, if used any more by the Iron Queen, would have been killed. But Ian, of course, being a longtime fan himself, didn't allow that to happen. But this is what got fans uppity a little bit, because when they looked at the cover for that issue with Bunny standing over Sonic, looking like she's about to blast him, fans were wondering if maybe this is going to be something Ian will look into. Ian might use to make the story more intriguing and more like, wow, what's going to happen next kind of deal. But that did not happen. Instead, just for one issue, Bunny was used, and she couldn't be used fully because she was half cybernetic. And of course, like I said, Ian Flynn, being a longtime fan, did not want to see her die off or get killed off. Excuse me. Another plausible point is Ian basically has the characters, the main villain characters, take 8 issues, or 7 issues if you will, to figure out that the best way to get around the freedom fighters and defeat them from within is to take control of Nicole. Now, Nicole, in case you're wondering, if you're like a new reader that's just gotten into the comic in the past few years, if not the past year, Nicole was originally a pocket computer. Now, you can look all this information up on the Mobius Encyclopedia. You can Google that on Google. You can Mobius Encyclopedia deal. You can look it up, on Wikipedia and all that. But anyway, Nicole used to be originally a portable handheld computer until an accident caused her to switch bodies with Sally temporarily. But of course they switched back. But this temporary switch made Nicole want to long for her own body. Now, she did temporarily, through whatever power she had through her portable design, make herself the body she has now, but couldn't sustain it until about issue 176. when we found out that she, along with the nanites left over in the old megalopolis, or whatever you want to call it, was able to build a new mobotropolis and thus allow her to retain the form that she had created. But anyway, what happened in issue 208, seven and a half issues after this story arc began, basically what happens is, thanks to Snively, the Iron Queen figures out that the best way to get control of New Mobotropolis from within is to take control of Nicole. Now she takes control of her, but instead of, playing it out, instead of letting it letting the control over Nicole go a little longer, Ian decides in the next issue that Sally and Sonic are going to use a machine that Sonic and Shadow had used before to go into the digital world of Mobius, the digital world of Mobotropolis, and free Nicole. And how do they free Nicole? By having Sally use the digital world itself to create a firewall around her and Nicole, thus allowing Nicole not only to be freed, but allowing Nicole to build up her defenses so that the Iron Queen can't take control anymore. And then what happens? Nicole agrees to be a spy for Sally, while her, Sonic, and Monkey Kong go east to free all the clans from the Iron Queen's grasp. So basically, that's another one of the flaw points that fans have against Ian, because he didn't allow that to be played out longer and longer. And then here in issue 211, of course I don't have the issue yet, but here in 211, if you look at the preview pages, she gets this smirk on her face when the Iron Queen demands her to attack her friends, and instead she just says, "Surprise!" Instead she puts the Iron Queen in an orb and basically says, "Surprise! I was never under your control after they left." So, and then another flaw that longtime readers have is the fact that Ian, having Robotnik, Eggman, in the detention center, basically start to regain his senses with every person that's put into prison there, including Snively coming back and forth and gloating. One of the things that Ian does that really irritates fans is he slowly gets Robotnik to regain his senses to the end of this arc, or to the end of issue 211, that he's flying off with Snively in an Eggmobile back to New Megalopolis, back to the Egg Dome, if you will. And again, this is what gets fans pissed off, because it's like, oh man, you're telling me his insanity only lasted for basically 9 issues, 9 months, or 8 months, and you didn't let it last for a lot longer? Instead, you had him regain his senses, and here we go again. This is what gets fans pissed off, because they didn't let him slowly regain. And I mean, this is what fans would have liked. They would have liked Robotnik to stay a little bit insane, but kind of like be half and half. Insane and sane. 50% sane, 50% insane. That's probably what they would have liked. Instead of like, oh, I'm back to normal and now I know how to beat Sonic. And then another thing that gets fans pissed off is the fact that he attempts to kill off Lena Da, a long-time villainous character that had been in the comics through the Sonic comics, the Knuckle comics, and the side stories or whatever. She tries to kill her off by igniting the bomb that's in her cybernetics. And we don't know if she's dead or not. So, Ian leaves that open, and they're thinking, oh great, now and that gets fans pissed off, because they're thinking, great, he's going to kill her off because he wants to, or something, or whatever. Overall, basically what gets fans pissed off about the story arc, long-time fans, is there's so many plot holes. Now, some of you newer fans might say, oh, it's not too bad, it's fine. I mean, sure, it was long and everything, but, it gives us a break. True, it does give us a break. It does give new readers and longtime readers a break from the Eggman Robotnik War, and gives us a new villain to be intrigued with. But the thing longtime fans are looking at that bug them is it wasn't really any real plot development. The stuff that I mentioned, the thing with Bunny, the thing especially with Nicole, they wanted to see that get played out more, but that didn't happen. And then what really gets our ire is just for this story arc alone, they decide to put Monkey Kong and Princess Sally together as a couple, or just as sweethearts for this one little for the story arc. Now, why would he do that, and why would that irate the fans? I'll get to that in a moment.